So this next song that we're going to sing, you guys might hear it on Caleb if you listen to it. It's called Stand in Your Love. And it's just a song about how our fear doesn't stand a chance when we're standing in His love. And I actually love this song because it's awesome and it's very catchy. And if you don't know where you're going in the song, all you have to say is, my fear doesn't stand a chance when I'm standing in your love. Very simple as that. But it's a very good truth because Jesus says in His Word that He will never leave us or forsake us. And He says that He's always there, always there wanting to come after us, always wanting to come and save us. So let's declare that truth this morning. When darkness tries to roll over my bones, when sorrow comes to steal the joy I own, when brokenness and pain is all I know, no, I won't be shaken, no, I won't be shaken. Come on, my fear, 'cause my fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. Come on, shame. Shame no longer has a place to hide. I am not a captive to lies. I'm not afraid to leave my past behind. No, I won't be shaken. No, I won't be shaken. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. Oh, I'm standing. There's power that can break off every chain. There's power that can empty out a grave. There's resurrection power that can save. There's power in your name. Power in your name. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. Oh, my fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. Come on, sing this out. I am standing on the rock. I am standing in your love. Sing that again. I'm standing. And I am standing on the rock. My firm foundation. My firm foundation. Sing that again. I am. Yes, I am standing on the rock. Oh,
stand a chance when I stand in your love. For I spoke a word, you were singing over me. You have been so, so good to me. For I took breath, you breathed your life in me. You have been so, so kind to me. For I spoke a word, you were singing over me. You have been so, so good to me. For I took a breath, you breathed your life in me. You have been so, so kind to me. And all the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God, oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99, and I couldn't earn it, and I don't deserve it. Still, you give yourself away. All the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Yeah. Night is your fault, still your love for me. You have been so, so good to me. I found no word to paint it all for me. Yes, you did. You have been so, so kind to me. And all the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God, oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99, and I couldn't earn it, and I don't deserve it. Still, you give yourself away. All the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of No shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. Snow wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. No shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. Sing that with me if you believe it this morning. Snow wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. No shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me.
lift your name up in this place, Lord. I pray that strongholds would be broken. Lord, that you would overcome our fears, that you would overcome our depression. You'd overcome everything that we go through in this life. You're greater than anything. Your grace is greater than our sin. Your love is greater than the circumstances we go through. And Lord, I just thank you for who you are and what you've done in my life and everyone's life in here. You've done so much, and we're just so grateful and thankful. So we pray this in your name. Amen. Well, you guys can have a seat. Yeah, awesome.
Well, I'm glad that you're here this morning. Have you ever wanted something so bad that you thought if you just had it, it would give you everything that you needed? I remember when I was 7 years old. How many of you grew up in the 80s? Come on. When I was 7 years old, I thought that if I could just have a He-Man Castle Grayskull, I'm bringing you back now, come on. This was going to be everything that I could have ever wanted in the world. I would be so happy my life would come together. It would finally have meaning. Hallelujah. And I remember I was 7 years old, and my parents were great parents, and they got this for me for Christmas, and it was awesome, and I was so excited, and I loved it, and I played with it, and it was everything I dreamed it would be until I got bored with it. How many of you ever had a toy like that? You get bored with it, and you move on to something else, and you want something else, and you think something else is going to make you happy. I could just have that. When I was 13, I wanted to drive a car so bad. I thought if I could just have a car, if I could just drive a car, then I'd finally have everything that I've ever wanted. And my good friend Gilbert and I would sit in his dad's car for hours, parked in the driveway of their house with the windows up, just sitting there pretending, imagining, because teenagers in the room didn't have cell phones to play with all day. We actually had to imagine what it was going to be like. And so sitting there for hours, dreaming of the day, what would it be like when we could actually drive our own car, go anywhere that we wanted, and do whatever we wanted. We loved it. And when I turned 16, I wanted a 1989 Chevy Silverado, and I wanted this souped up, sweet ride. That's actually one very close to the one that I was looking at in the Auto Trader magazine when I turned 16. But I couldn't afford that. I could only afford that. A 1985 Buick Skylark, baby. Metallic blue four-door sedan. Come on, ladies. I pull up in that thing. You're like, hello. And when I finally got the freedom that I wanted as a 16-year-old, and I had my sweet ride, all the money that I had to go to pay for insurance and for gas. I could only afford to put about $5 or $10 worth of gas back in those days, because what happened was gas was under $1 a gallon. It was crazy. It was a whole other age, right? But I could put enough gas in my car to go to school, to go to work, and to go to church. And that was it. And I was on fumes until I got paid again and put more gas in my car. I realized as a 16-year-old, I wasn't going to be able to go wherever I wanted and do whatever I wanted, because that costs money. And so my dream of driving just quickly gave way to the reality of, how many days now do we get in our car and think, yeah, this is normal. This is the 13-year-old version of me would slap me for how much I take this for granted, because I dreamed of it so much. So I think there's something in all of us that wrestles with thinking that if we could just have that thing, then it would give us what we want most. We're all tempted to wrestle with this, looking over the fence to see what other people have, thinking the grass is greener over there. And we're starting this new series today called The Grass is Always Greener, because we all wrestle with this thing in our life that says, I'm cool with what I've got, but once I see something better, or someone better, or a stage of life that's better, then I'm tempted to look over the fence and see that the grass is greener. In fact, when I say the phrase, the grass is always greener, how do you guys answer that? How do you fill it? How do you end that statement? The grass is always greener on the other side. Right, that's how I've always heard it too. It's always better over there. And today we're going to talk about that thing in us that wants to look over the fence and see the other side is somehow better than what we currently have right now, with where we live right now. We're going to talk about in this series, why is this so dangerous? What is it keeping us from? What does God want to teach us about it? And what's so bad about this kind of a mindset? But before we really dig into it, I want to make sure that we're all on the same page. So I want to give you some definitions so that we can all know that we're talking about the same thing. When I say the greener grass, what do I mean? What am I meaning, the greener grass? Here's the definition that I think will help us. The green grass refers to that thing that I think I don't currently have, that I think will give me what I actually want the most. It refers to that object, that car, that job, that thing, that person, that season of life that I think will give me the thing that I think I really want more than anything. Now, the reason I'm saying that I think so much and emphasizing it here is because it's unique to you and to me. It's not the same for all of us. It's true for you in a way that's totally different than for me. What do you think will make you happy? What do you think will make you satisfied? When the green grass comes to your mind, it's really a mind game that you play, and you've got your own answer. And here's how it plays out, regardless of who we are or what we believe about God. We realize that we don't have something. We see somebody over there and who has what we don't have, and they seem like they're happy. Even if they're not, we don't know. They seem like they're happy. So maybe because of what they have that's making them happy, I don't have that, I'm not happy. If I get what they have, then I'll be happy. But that's really what I want. We don't know their life. We don't know the full picture, right? Maybe their life isn't as good as it seems to be, but we think it is because they have what we think we want. If we think they've got it easy, must be nice to be them. If I only had that, then I'd be happy too. And the lens that we look through in this green grass mindset, they're like goggles, check this out, that have the words what and if written on them. That's how we look through life. What if I drove that car? What if I had that job? What if that person was my spouse? What if I were friends with them? What if I lived in that neighborhood? What if I could go and vacation there? What if I made their salary? What if my kids, come on, what if my kids acted like their kids? What if my dinners looked like her dinners, right? What if my yard looked like his yard? What if my spouse were more like their spouse? We all have our own answer to what the green grass is for us, and it's unique to us. And listen, your situation, your struggles, your circumstances are going to filter into how you answer that question. What is the green grass for you? And social media hasn't helped any of us at all. It hasn't done any favors for us in this regard. Because back in the day before, and there was a day before the internet, back in the day before, we used to have to imagine and be creative about what other people's lives must be like, right? It took creativity then. But now all we got to do is scroll on Facebook or Instagram, and come on, how many, be honest, you had a bad day, and you're scrolling through Facebook, and you're watching page after page of people who seem to be having the very best day in their life, and you just want to slap them. Come on, be honest in church today. It must be nice. Oh, really? Okay. You know that people never share their bad days on social media? They share their best days. How do you answer this? Do me a favor and answer this. As soon as I get blank, then I'll have what I want. What is that for you? Maybe for some of you, you'd say, as soon as I get out of debt. You know, there was a day in my life when I said, as soon as I pay off my student loans. Come on, can I get a witness in the room? Oh, crippling student loans. As soon as I get out of debt, then I'll have what I want. As soon as I have that house. As soon as I get that job. Or maybe as soon as my spouse gets that new job, we're going to have to drive so far and make a little bit more money. Then I'll finally have what I want. If you're a teacher in the room, you've been enduring these snow days like the rest of us, but you're like, if I could just get to summer, then I will finally have what I want. And the parents in the room are the opposite. They're saying, if my kids could just go to school, I would finally have what I want. Maybe it's, if I could just get married, I'd finally have what I want. And the interesting is that some of us are married, and we're thinking, if only I wasn't married, then I'd finally have what I want. And maybe it's as soon as we have kids, we'll have what we want. Or maybe your kids are in the house still, and you're looking over the fence, and you're going, maybe when we're empty nesters, we'll finally have what we want. Isn't it interesting how we go through life thinking that the next season, the next thing, something new, is the key to giving us all what we want, only to find that it doesn't. Have you ever stopped to really think about what's beneath and underneath and behind why we want that thing? If we're honest, then the thing that we really think we want is this, but it really is that. And we need to pay more attention to that than this. Because what's underneath the greener grass mindset is this insatiable desire, this appetite for more. It's inside of all of us. No matter how good my yard might look, it's not as good as his. Or no matter how much money I make, it's not enough. Or no matter what my job is like, I've got to have more. And if we were to put a word on what that is, it's not a pretty word. And maybe in some of our lives, it's just simply the word greed. And we don't like to admit it. It's ugly to look at it in the mirror, but we just want more. We want more. Or maybe it's envy, where we want what that person has really bad. Or we're jealous because we wonder, we fear somebody taking away what we have. Or maybe it's lust. We want that so bad, we have to touch it, we got to feel it, we want to make it our own. Or maybe it's idolatry. These are biblical words. Where we want something so bad it becomes the center of our life. It's like on the throne, ruling everything. All of our thoughts, all of our relationships. It's the thing that is the most important thing. It could be materialism, where we think that if I just get it, it's going to give me everything I want. But it always leaves us wanting more of the very thing that we don't have. And it's dangerous, and it doesn't seem all that wrong, and it doesn't seem all that bad, because all of us deal with it in some way. We all have some measure of the greener grass mindset. We wonder, what's the big deal about it? It's not that bad. And that's why we're talking about it over the next several weeks, because what else in your life are you going to sit for 30 minutes and focus in on a single topic that will help your life get better? And there's not a single one of us, no matter what you believe about God or your experience with church, who doesn't want our life to get better, right? And we're here as a church so you can know the truth about God and find the freedom that God wants to give you so you can live a life of purpose that makes a real difference. Because we want to help you get better at life. Because what we're talking about isn't just a God thing, it's a you thing. It's something that you deal with every single day. And I don't want this mindset of greener grass over there to cause the trouble and do the damage to the very important things in your life. Because there are some real problems to this mindset, to living with a greener grass mindset. The first one is that it never really leads to joy. It never leads to that, I've actually found what I've been looking for. It never leads to actual fulfillment and meaning and contentment and joy in our life. And even if we find it, even if we get it, even if we hold it, any U2 fans in the room, right? I still haven't found what I'm looking for. It comes on the playlist in our brains because that's the reality. We thought it was this, and we got it now, and we still have that same feeling now that we have it. Another problem with it is that it makes me a victim in my life, because whenever I see something that you have and I think, oh, that's not fair. Why does he get that? Why does she get that? How many of you have seen this before? Must be nice. That's the nice way of saying, I don't like you. I mean, when I think that way, it's like I'm thinking, woe is me. My life is so horrible. I don't have anything good. I don't like anything I have. It allows me actually to take the mindset of irresponsibility, and I'm not taking a responsible approach to my life. I'm not honoring what I have, who I have, and what God has given me, because I can't stop thinking about what I don't have. It's an irresponsible way to live our life. We don't want to go through life as a victim. But the worst part about the greener grass mindset is that it will rob you of the thing that you want the most, which is a life that God would give you, a life-giving kind of life, full of life. It's like a thief. The greener grass lurks under the surface, trying to take the good things away from you. By focusing on what you don't have, you miss what you do have. By focusing on what you don't have with your spouse, you miss the fact that you have an incredible spouse. You miss the fact that your kids aren't the worst kids. You miss the fact that God has given you a great job, even if it's not all what you dreamed of. God has given you incredible things, but when you keep your eyes looking over the fence, you miss the things that God has given you right here. And regardless of who you are or whether you're a church person or not, it will infect your life with discontentment. It will sour everything. It's like a shadow, our shadow that follows us everywhere that we go. In the greener grass mindset, discontentment is its shadow. It will follow us. It will lurk under the surface, and it will leave us unsatisfied with everything that we have. And our kids do this all the time. You've got kids, and I've got kids, and my kids do this all the time. One will see what the other has, and they'll think, oh, that's making them happy, so maybe that's going to make me happy. And so one takes the toy away from the other, literally, grabs it out of their hand, and 30 seconds later, they put the toy down, and they move on to something else, because for a brief moment, they saw the other's happiness, and they thought, maybe that'll make me happy. Now, we've all grown up since childhood, but we don't grow out of that way of thinking. And the problem with that way of thinking is that discontentment will affect our entire life. So what I want to do for the remainder of our time this morning is I want to tell you a story that will illustrate this principle. And it's a story from the history of the nation of Israel. And it's really a story that runs in the background of one of the more famous stories in all of the Bible. How many of you have ever heard of the story of David and Goliath? You've probably heard the story before. Well, this is the story that's going on in the background. That was really the more disappointing, sadder part of the story of David and Goliath. By this point in the history of Israel, God's people, God had already led his people out of slavery in Egypt. Moses, centuries before, Moses led them out of slavery, and they took them into the desert, out of Egypt into the desert, and they hated the desert. They didn't want to be there. It was so bad that they actually thought of going back to Egypt and becoming slaves all over again. And it's interesting and ironic that while they were slaves in Egypt, they looked out at that desert and they said, if we could only be free, then we'd have everything that we wanted. And then they were free, and now they're looking back at Egypt in the desert saying, if we could only go back to Egypt and be slaves again, we'd have everything. This is the greener grass mindset. It never gives you what you want most. And a generation later, they actually moved into the promised land. And Moses didn't get to take them, but his young general Joshua did. And this was a huge moment for God's people. They were excited. This was the culmination of so many promises that God had made. And it was described as a land flowing with milk and honey, and it meant, which basically means it's a sweet land. It's full of everything that you would ever want. It's full of life-giving things. Come on. It's got an ice cream stand on every corner and barbecue right across the street. Can I get a witness? That's all I need in life. A barbecue and a little ice cream. They loved the promised land. They loved the promised land until it wasn't enough. And they started looking across the border at the other nations around them. They all had a ruler. They all had a king. But God's nation, you see, the nation of Israel, didn't have a king like all the other nations because God said, I want to be your king. But then people said, no. We don't want you to be our king. We want a king like everybody else. And though this was hurtful to God, and though this was offensive to God, God graciously gives them what they're asking for because he's a good parent. And parents in the room, you need to let your kids feel the consequences of their choices sometimes, right? So God's going to let them feel, okay, if this is what you want, here's what you're going to get. And that's where we pick up the story in 1 Samuel chapter 9. They're off to find their king. They're looking for their first king. And in verse 1, it says that there was a Benjamin, a man of standing, whose name was Kish, son of Abiel. Now, you can read the rest of those names if you want to try to pronounce some of those. It's a little bit challenging, but go for it. But they go to the tribe of Benjamin. Basically, there were 12 sons that Abraham's grandson had. These 12 sons, there were different names. Benjamin was one of them. They go to this tribe, the descendants of Benjamin. They found a guy by the name of Kish. They were looking for his son. Verse 2 says that Kish had a son named Saul. And Saul was handsome. Come on, ladies. He was as handsome a man as there was in the nation. And he was a head taller than everybody else. Let's leave that up there for a second because I want us to pause and look at that verse because there's something here that we need to learn and see. It is dangerous when others try to define you by external things, by what you do, by what job you have, by how tall you are, how good looking you might be. It's dangerous to be defined by something that isn't intrinsic and real to you and who you really are. And part of this greener grass problem is that we don't have an answer. There's something about us that we don't like about ourselves that we wish we had what somebody else had. And if you don't have a firm answer for the question, who are you? If you don't know who you are, if you don't know your God-given purpose and your divine design, then other people will define you, and if you allow them to, their definitions of you will stick for the rest of your life. And just based on Saul's life, what we see is that Saul didn't know who he was. He was very insecure. He didn't know who God created him to be. He was never confident in who he was. And as a result of that, these definitions of him stick. He's more handsome. He's taller. I mean, good for you, Saul, right? Come on, ladies. He's a good-looking guy. He's head and shoulders above everybody else. Come on, good for you, Saul. Well done. Dude, I'm going to stare at you. I'm going to look at you. Man, that's a good-looking man right there. All right? But good for you. But be careful defining yourself that way, because there's more to you than your looks, and there's more to you than your height. Can I get an amen to that? Pay attention to the deeper things, the character things, because those things matter a whole lot. And like Saul, we're all constantly wanting to know, how am I doing? But not only that, how am I doing compared with everybody else? Right? We compare ourselves with others around us, don't we? And it seems that in all of us, no matter who we are, we can easily define ourselves and find our identity and our value and our worth based on how good we are against everybody else. And if we don't know who we are, not compared with everybody else, it's dangerous. And Saul, based on the way the rest of his life worked out, unfortunately let this get inside of him. This external definition. He didn't know who he was. And if I could just talk to Saul for a moment, go back in time, I would tell him this simple truth. Just be you, man. Don't try to be anybody else. Don't look over the fence. Don't be confident that God chose you, God made you with a purpose. Don't define yourself by external things or how you're doing compared with others. But it got inside of Saul, guys, and it messed him up. And we're going to see a couple chapters later the story of David and Goliath and how it went down. Saul is there listening to this giant Goliath talking smack, like WWE style kind of smack about Saul, about Israel, about God. And Saul's just kind of standing not knowing what to do with himself. He just kind of throws his hands up in the air and he goes, I don't know what to do. And then this little kid, this teenager, shows up with cheese and some cold cuts for his brothers at the battle line. He shows up to give them their lunch, and Saul's scratching his head, doesn't know what to do. And David, he hears Goliath saying what he says, and Saul lets David go out there and fight the giant. And you know the rest of the story. He kills the giant. It's an incredible moment. It's an incredible moment for David, but it's an incredible moment for Saul, because this is good for Saul. He's the one in charge. He's the king. He's got everything under his care, and Goliath was a big problem. And David took care of the problem. But Saul didn't like the way that people were praising David. Look at this in verse 6. When the men were returning home after David had killed the Philistine, the women came out from all the towns of Israel to meet King Saul. And this is awesome. Saul, look, all the ladies love you, man. They're out here celebrating you. Way to go, way to go. And they're singing and they're dancing with songs. And because it's not a party until the timbrels and the lyres get broken out, right? As my 7-year-old daughter, Nora, says, it got lit. Okay? And I have no idea what that means, so you can help me understand that later. And they danced and they sang this song. Saul has slain his thousands, and David his tens of thousands. And on they went. Now let's leave that up there for a second. They're saying, Saul, look, Saul, you're awesome. You killed thousands. And David, you're awesome. Tens of thousands. You guys together, God has used you. You're incredible. So what did the ladies who sang this song mean by the lyric? We have no idea what they meant by the lyric. Maybe nothing. It was a song lyric, one line in one song by women who we don't even know who they were. It didn't say Saul killed thousands, but David. Oh, tens of them. It wasn't that at all. It was Saul and David. It was a lyric to a song. Y'all hearing me this morning? If you base your life on the lyric of a Taylor Swift song, trying to figure out everything, you're going to have a hard time. You don't need to go too far. Listen, good luck trying to figure your life out. But this got deep inside of Saul and messed Saul up, because somehow in his mind he's thinking, hold on a second, wait. David, tens of thousands, me, thousands. Are they saying that David isn't only better better than me, but he's 10 times better than me? No. What does that mean for me? Saul didn't know who he was. He was defined by all of these external things. What does this mean about me? And Saul responded this way. He was very angry. And it displeased him, this song did, very greatly. They credited David with tens of thousands and me with only thousands. And the next line is important. What more can he get but the kingdom? What kind of a dumb question is that? What does David have? He's a pipsqueak teenager who's still got pimples. He doesn't have anything. He's not the king. He's a shepherd. He has nothing. What more can he get but the kingdom? Saul, what is going on in your brain? He doesn't have anything. Some women who we don't even know their names add his name into the lyric of a song. Saul, what do you have? You're the first king of Israel. You've got everything you could ever want. It's not enough. Saul, it's not enough. Saul began to look over the fence at David. What's David doing? What's David doing? What are people saying about David? For the rest of Saul's life, he looked at David. What does that mean for me? He kept a close eye from that time on. He kept a close eye on David. See, what he should have kept a close eye on was that thing inside of him that was bothered by the song. Why does this upset me so much? He should have focused on that. And Saul doesn't have the best reputation in the history of the scriptures. But imagine if Saul had figured it out. Imagine if Saul had worked it through. And maybe he would have chosen to celebrate David, right? I mean, come on. David, well done. Nice work. You killed the giant. I mean, literally, that Philistine was killing us. We weren't able to move. We were paralyzed with fear, but you took care of him. Incredible job. That makes my job as your king a whole lot easier. Thank you so much. Now, here's your palace. Come on, right? Here's your 89 Chevy Silverado. Here is no more taxes. He could have done that, but he didn't do any of that. Instead, what he should have been celebrating, he actually turned into hating. Now listen. We have got to pay attention to that thing in us that cannot celebrate when somebody else has what we want. When we find ourselves hating it, beware. That negative emotion will tear you apart. And that is your struggle. That is your greener grass problem. And for the rest of Saul's life, it tore him apart. And in fact, there's this moment where David's in the presence of Saul, and he's playing the harp. He's like rocking the harp. This guy was the best harp player. I don't know what the harp sounds like. I don't know what it means to be a good harp player, but apparently David was. And he would shred the harp, man. And Saul would have these terrors, these nightmares. He couldn't rest. And so he would have David come in and play the harp. David just rocking the harp, and it would ease his terrors and would give him the ability to rest and would soothe his mind. And on one occasion, as David is playing and shredding the harp, Saul's listening, and he begins, I imagine he begins to think, this is incredible, this is ridiculous. Seriously, David, you're like this incredible military guy who defeated the giant, and now you're over there just shredding the harp. How you doing, Saul? How you doing, Saul? What can't you do? And Saul got so angry that he picks up his spear and he throws it at David. Miss it. And it's at this point in David's life that he begins to run from Saul. And who would blame him, right? I mean, listen, guys, life principle number one. If somebody throws a spear at you, run away from them. Just run away. You don't need to hang out. Just run. Just run fast as far as you can go. And in a chase, Saul chases David, and Saul eventually dies, and David becomes king. And maybe the saddest part of this entire story is that you would have thought David would have learned. And you would have thought that, now that David's king, and he's got pretty much everything, and everything that he could ever need, he's got it all. And he's also got this tale, the cautionary tale of Saul, and what Saul did to him, that David would have succeeded. But he didn't. He actually failed the greener grass test in his own life. But there's a third way you can learn this lesson. You can chase it your whole life and never get it. You can get it and realize that it wasn't satisfying. Or number three, you could trust. You could learn to trust your Heavenly Father. You could learn, listen, to believe that where you are is where He wants you. That what you have in your life is what He wants you to have. That who is in your life is who He wanted in your life. You can learn to stop looking over there and and start watering the grass right here. You can learn to trust that following God and following Jesus will actually lead you to find the answers that you're looking for. Because I don't believe that greener grass is a myth. I don't believe that it's an unattainable thing. It does exist. It just can't be realized by the things that we think will bring us the greener grass. The stuff won't, the car won't, the house won't, the job won't, the money won't. But it is a real place, and God wants to walk with you where you are right now to show you what is the greener grass. And Jesus came, He died, He rose from the dead so that you and I could all realize that everything that you've ever wanted isn't down here with us, it's up there with Him. And the only way we're getting to what we really want and where we really want to be is found in God. And God wants to walk with you right where you are, from where you are, to the greener grass, with Him. And Jesus would invite all of you to consider this today in your life. I'm the only way there. I'm the only truth, and I'm the only life that will give you what you're looking for. No one gets to the greener grass with God except through me. And God will offer His help to you. But the only way you are getting to that greener grass where there's deep peace and fulfillment and joy is not in the stuff, it's not in the things. That boat won't bring it to you, the car won't bring it to you, the job won't bring it to you, the marriage won't bring it to you. Listen, only God can bring it to you. He's the only way. And Jesus has come to lead you there if you're willing. And I believe that with every fiber of my being because I've experienced it in my own life. And another reason that I believe that that's true is because there's this entire book in the Old Testament called Psalms. And it's an incredible book full of song lyrics and poems. It's very beautiful. It's very amazing. But one of the best and most well-known psalms is Psalm 23. You probably heard this before. It says, "The Lord is my shepherd. And because He is with me, He's there caring for me, I lack nothing." Listen to me, friends. In poverty or in abundance, I lack nothing. In sickness or in health, I lack nothing. If I'm in a season of want and a season of need, or if I'm in a season of abundance and I have more than I need, I lack nothing. In seasons where I feel all alone, where I don't know if anybody's there with me, I lack nothing because my God, my shepherd is with me. And He makes me lie down. He helps me lie down in green pastures. These are the greenest grasses that you will ever experience in your entire life. And it doesn't mean that He's going to give you everything that you want, or He's going to give you everything that everybody else has, but He's going to give you what you need. He's going to give you all that you need. You'll lack nothing. Trust that God is with you, and what He has given you is what He wants for you. And where He has placed you is where He wants you to be. God is your greener grass. He is your joy, your peace, your fulfillment. And the reason that some of us have none of those things is because we are far from God, and we are not letting God lead us into that. But He's the only way there. And He'll invite you into these greener grasses. And He'll lead you beside quiet waters where He will refresh your soul. He refreshes your soul. It's not the grass, it's not the water, it's not the stuff, it's not anything, but God is the one who refreshes your soul. He guides you along the right paths, paths that you'll know the best way to go. Not for your glory or for your greatness, but for His. So if you've got God's blessings, you've got more, celebrate that. Give God glory for that. Use that in a way that's wise. And if you are in need and you don't think you have everything you want, celebrate that because God's going to show you He's going to come through for you. You came in today wondering, do you care, God? Are you there, God? He is. He loves you. He has a plan for you, and He wants to show you how good He is. He is your greener grass. He will provide every need that you have. And you can celebrate Him for His glory. Listen, check this out. And even if I'm walking through the hardest, darkest valley, I will fear no evil. If it's difficult, if it's dark, if it's scary, if it's anxious, I will fear no evil because you are with me and you comfort me. Now listen, you're sitting here, you hear me sharing this with you, you want this so bad. Listen, this is possible for you no matter who you are. Because you know who wrote that? King David. King David, the one that we just talked about. Why did he miss this? I don't know why he missed this. I don't know why Saul missed this. But but you don't have to miss it, and I don't have to miss it. In my life, I've just decided I'm not going to waste any more of my life wanting somebody else's life. Come on, don't waste your life wishing for a different one. Look at what God has given you and choose to celebrate God for who He is and what He's done and what He's given you. Trust your Father in heaven. He will lead you. He will lead you to enjoy your life. He will lead you to enjoy your spouse, your children, your job, even if it's the worst job, even if it's the difficult marriage situation, even if your kids are hard. Listen, He will be your source of joy and life. Am I talking to anybody today? You don't need to try this on your own anymore because you and I can't give ourselves what God wants to give us. Would you stand with me? We're going to close out in a little bit of worship and prayer, but I want to encourage you. Maybe today, trusting Jesus is what your next step looks like. We talk about this every week. We want to help you take the next step. What does your next step look like with God? Maybe you're here and you don't have a relationship with God at all. And you've said, listen, I don't even know what I believe about God or what I believe about Jesus. Listen, I'm so glad you came. I hope you understand that what we're talking about isn't a God thing, it's a you thing. And God loves you enough to help your life get better. The only way you can take that step into a transformed life isn't by my help, and it isn't by coming to church. It's by trusting in Jesus and letting Him forgive you of your sins and change your entire life. And He wants to do that. No matter what the past looks like, or no matter what your struggle is, He loves you enough to offer you salvation and transformation. And I can't give that to you. But I'm here today inviting you to respond to Jesus who loves you, who came, who died, who rose from the dead, so that you and I could have the life we could never live ourselves. Maybe that's what you need to decide today. Jesus, I need you to be the Savior and the leader of my life. Or maybe you're here and you already are a Christian. You've already crossed that line where you believe in Jesus, but you're still looking over the fence, and you think that everything over there is what you need. Maybe today God's asking you to trust what He's given you, to celebrate that. That's not easy, is it, friends? Because when we look around in our life, we can see all the things we don't have and the things that we need. But maybe today we need to get our eyes off of over there and onto God again. And choose to be content with what God's given us. And choose to have joy. It doesn't come from anything, like sunny days or no snow or money in the bank. It comes from God. He's the source of our joy. He's the source of our life. Maybe today your next step is just, Jesus, help me trust you. To stop looking over the fence. Let me pray for you right now. Lord, we're here together. We're all the same in need of you. And if today we need to make you the Lord of our life, I pray that you would give someone where they're standing the courage to do that. The courage to say, Jesus, I can't save myself. I might even be a good person, but God, I need you to forgive me because good people don't go to heaven. Forgiven people do. And I can't do that on my own, but Jesus, you love me enough to save me. So I come to you asking for you to save me. Help me trust that you have a plan for my life. Help me trust that you can do something with this mess. When you put your faith in Jesus, when you believe that He is the Son of God, that He rose from the dead, that He is sitting at the right hand of God the Father, that He can save and forgive you, when you believe and you confess that with your mouth and you believe it in your heart, the Bible says, the Scriptures say, you will be saved. The past gone, the sin's gone. You're a new creation. The old is gone, and the new has come. And I pray for somebody here today that you would make that decision. Trusting Jesus is the only way, the only Savior. If you're here and you're looking over the fence at somebody or at something, I want to challenge you right now. Ask God to help you see Him, to trust Him, and to trust that what you have, what He's given you, is what He wants for you. Start there. Don't look over the fence. Start right there. Work on where your marriage is right here. Work on what you've got right now with your kids. And it might be a mess, and it might not be what you wanted it to be, but with God's help, anything is possible, and He will walk with you if you'll just believe, if you'll just trust Him. Jesus, help me trust you. That's the prayer we make today, Lord. Pray in Jesus' name. Amen. We're going to close this out in a song. If you made a decision, any kind of decision, on your car, record that you got from the radio. Would you make a record there? Would you hand it to one of our ushers as you're leaving today? Drop it in one of those buckets. We want to communicate with you, celebrate with you, and all that God's doing in your life. Thanks for being here today. Have a great week, guys.
Well, you guys are free to go. Have a great week, and we'll hope to see you next week.